Cost of living, safety nets, plan A, B, and C. I'm going to discuss each of those in some detail in this video, and going to have some focus on the Philippines, but applicable anywhere. In fact, cost of living for almost all of us has been going up very rapidly the last couple of years, in particular. Um, Home energy bills, travel, gasoline bills, just everything. Food bills have gone up substantially in most parts of the world, as a matter of fact, draining away your savings. Now, first of all, I'm not, there are plans, there are options, as many of you know. First, let's talk about Plan A, and I'm going to use this video. I did got a Canon SX70 Super Zoom, and I zoomed into some ferries coming in. I'm in Cebu City, and I've got a fast craft coming in. I've got a Coquelin, a little bit slower ferry coming in, and another roll on, roll off ferry coming in. I don't see a name on it, and another ferry leaving. Back to Plan A. Plan A is that's where your present situation is. Plan A is to hunker down. If you've got a good income, a big pension, a big savings account, you can survive these sorts of things. And what I keep reading financially is that the inflation is going to be here for another year or more. The cost of living is going to remain high long term, probably. But you can survive that if you've been fortunate to plan well, to make some good money and save some good money. The great majority of people are in more of a precarious state. Gosh, I forget what percent in the U.S. is living paycheck to paycheck. In fact, it's over 50%, 60, 70% maybe. Very little savings, could not come up with cash to pay an emergency bill, something like that. But you may have a safety net. Your government in your country may have government programs. So if you fall below a certain level, if you need energy assistance, for instance, if you need food stamps credits, you can get those sorts of things. I've been in the Philippines for 3 trips for about little over 7 years now. And I can tell you, many countries do not have those safety nets. So if you are very low budget, you might not want to travel overseas. You might want to hunker down, save as much as you can, and take advantage of those safety nets in case you need them. And or you, not only the government safety nets, you may have family safety nets that can help you out in times of need. Plan B is to make some major changes in your life and move. If you can't afford to live where you're at, now you might move across town, you might move to a different state in the U.S., different province, whatever country you're living in, whatever they call them there. And you can adjust your way of living, your cost of living. Moving always costs more than, in my experience, and I've moved a lot in the U.S. from state to state, city to city, across town and cities. It always cost me a lot more, maybe twice as much as I ever thought it would. So take that into account. Or you can move to another country, and many of you have been researching other countries. I used to get a magazine. I just canceled my subscription to what is it? Living abroad, something like that. Living overseas, and interesting information. They've got some cost of living stuff. They generally cater to a much higher income group than I fit into, but it was I found a lot of the information useful. There is information online, and we talk about it here: cost of living in the Philippines, and there are people talking about Thailand, Vietnam, Cambodia, Ecuador, Peru, Costa Rica, Portugal. Lots of options around the world. For many of you, the English language, speaking the English language is very important. The Philippines is probably one of the easiest countries for most people to come into. For over 100 countries, I think it's visa on arrival. As long as you've got a passport that is good for 6 months. At the present time, if you're vaccinated, you need to have some proof of vaccination. If you're not, you have to have a negative antigen test. I've done other videos about that. I suggest you go to the airline that you plan to fly in, see what they say the requirements are, because if they don't let you on the plane, you're not going to come to the Philippines or any other place that they say you aren't going to come to. So the Philippines, if you meet those requirements, you've got a passport that's good for at least 6 months, and you've got fulfill the other requirements. You fly in and you get they stamp your passport with a 30-day visa, and you're allowed to extend that 29 days the first time, next time a couple of months, and then after that, depends upon the immigration office, even up to 6 months at a time. So it's very easy to come here, very inexpensive, visa-wise, and you can stay on that tourist visa for up to 36 months, 3 years, and then you have to leave the country. I don't know if it's for 24 hours or just you can fly out, fly back in the same time. Less than 24 hours, not exactly sure, but anyway, that's the case. And you can start your 3 years over again. Now they prefer that you get a more permanent type of visa, and they have SRV, special retirement visa. They've got investment visas. They've got work visas, a number of different things that you can get. And that yellow ferry coming in is a larger Coke Leone coming in. They've got a lot of bunks. You can lay down and sleep as you go to other islands. The one behind it is, I believe it's called a Fast Cat. And if you're in the Philippines for any length of time at all, you will probably sooner or later take one of those ferries. Transportation is very inexpensive here, generally, whether you fly to other islands, whether you take a ferry, whether you get on a bus that then gets on a ferry, takes you to another island. Ferry from here over to Bohol, Tagbilaran, in fact, is they've got lower class outdoor, they've got air conditioned class, and they've got business class. So I think air conditioned class is probably 1,000 pesos, about $20 for an hour and a half ride over there. Now, just a little bit of a caution, I guess, a warning. I've seen guys come over here before they have what they call guaranteed income. They sell their house, their car, their boat, whatever else they own. They think they have a lot of money. They come over here, they meet a girl, they build her a house, build family a house, take care of their medical, dental bills, and they run out of money. They run out of money before they start getting a pension. And then it's like, what am I going to do now? So think ahead and plan that. Stay in control of your money, number one, because there are so many needs here. There's so many needs, and it's difficult not to try to help people out. And it seems like small expenses, but they add up. They add up. I've seen a number of expats come here with a fair amount of money, but within the first year have some medical issues. And even Rike, he's got a YouTube channel. He just had just watched some of his video. He had an appendicitis attack, burst, and I think he was in the hospital. Cost him 200,000 pesos, he said, 4,000 something US dollars. I definitely recommend for most people that they pay off as many debts and all of their debts they can in their home country before you make a jump into another country. You don't want those problems haunting you. And your cost of living, you can also you have options here, even in Cebu City. And shortly I'll put up a video. I went into a pension house the other day, and an apartment type place, and lower cost. And you won't find the lower cost places online most of the time, but you can find lower cost places if you are willing to live in those more meager places with little furnishings. Another expense, of course, is your food, energy and food. Do you will a fan work for you, keep you cool enough under most circumstances, or are you going to run that air conditioner 24 hours, 7 days a week? You can find a studio. You can find a studio condominium here, even in the city, for 15,000, maybe even 13, 12, 13,000, furnished with some cooking, a couple cooking pans, that type of thing. Your electricity, your water would be extra, your internet, and if you want cable television, that would be extra. I'll do another video. Years ago, I did a video on cable television, internet. I'll do another one in the near future. This camera, SX70SX Super Zoom, zooms out to 65 times magnification, optically, even more digitally, and I'm in digital zoom right now as it comes in, but that's part of the reason why it's on this sunny day you get that kind of wavy effect, not kind of blurry effect. One thing I can tell you for sure, and I have had people comment that a couple times over the years, oh, I live comfortably on 500 US dollars a month, or 800, I get by just fine. 800, me and my wife have a house, so we don't have any rent, and this and that, and that's great. That's great. And like I tell people, you can until you can't on that amount, because sooner or later you're going to have maintenance on the house. You're going to have maintenance on your body, on your wife's body, on her family members. They're going to require medical, dental, various things. So you aren't going to get by on that forever. It just ain't going to happen 99% of the time. But the Filipino people, they're very welcoming still. They're very welcoming, friendly. You've got the many of the people speak English. If one person doesn't understand, there's usually somebody nearby that can relate to what you're asking. I've had such good luck and good experiences with Filipinos here. You are in a different country, a different culture, and culture shock will affect some people much more than others. Like I said, I moved around the U.S. quite a bit in the many years that I lived there, different states, different cities, and so I endured even a little bit of culture shock just in the USA, but not nearly what you get when you move to a different country. I adapted quite well to the climate. It took me about 6 months. I lived in the desert in Las Vegas and Phoenix, Arizona for decades in that dry, maybe 6% humidity, 10% humidity or less. And I thought the humidity would really get to me. And there were days, because I came in middle of August, and it was a drought period, and it was hot, and there were times when it was hot and humid without any breeze, and I'd be out walking, and it was a bit oppressive. But many of the people from, especially southeast U.S., from the south, that get more into humid climates, Louisiana, and all those states down there, all the way over to Florida and Georgia, will tell you, man, it's hotter and more humid here. Houston, Texas, where I've been many times, more hot, more humid, more oppressive. So we all handle the weather a little bit differently. Hopefully you will adapt quickly as well. Plan C. Now where? I'm a bit of a student of history, and nothing would surprise me that would happen in the future. Politicians, countries can change their rules and regulations. I don't think anytime soon the Philippines will be changing their openness to foreigners being here, but it could happen eventually. And but your own country could make it more difficult for you to be out of the country long term. I know there are countries, and I've had this discussion with Canadians and UK people and Australians, and if you're out of the country for more than a certain amount of time, they're now correct me if I'm wrong. Like in Canada, they've got a medical type pension program, medical program, and an income type pension program tied in. Whether you're tied in with the government system or a company system, I don't know the details. But I've been told by a couple people, if you're out of the country, one guy said over 6 months, then you're penalized. I think on the medical side, perhaps you need to use it. You have to come back and live there for a year or something like that, maybe 6 months or a year before they bring you back into that system. The U.S. at this point in time does not penalize us, as far as I know. But at the same time, Medicare, Social Security system, the medical side of that system, you can't use it, for the most part, you can't use it when you're out of the country. And my experience, your medical bills, even with Medicare or even with a decent medical insurance in the U.S., you can still run up some pretty high medical bills. And I did a couple of years before I came here. I had my gallbladder out, and I had decent insurance. I think I had a $2,000 deductible U.S. dollar and a 70-30 plan where I paid 30%. Insurance paid 20% of reasonable expenses, something like that. I think my bill came to a little over $4,000 for an outpatient. I went in. It took an hour to weigh me and get me ready to operate. Took an hour for him to operate. Took an hour to recover, and I went home. So 3 hours and about $4,000 U.S. dollars later. Doctors here that I've talked to said, "Oh no, you wouldn't get to go home. We'd keep you at least 2 days to observe, make sure everything was okay." And I don't think they do that outpatient type stuff very often here. Not sure, maybe up in some of the Manila hospitals. But the point being, if something goes wrong, makes it difficult for you to if you are kicked out of the country, you do something stupid, and whether you thought it was stupid or not, it doesn't matter. If the government says they blacklist you, you're going to have to go someplace else, right? You're gonna need a ticket out of town. Occasionally I read about they catch up with this foreigner after several years. You can run for a while, but you're not going to hide forever, I guess. So my advice is keep more than a little bit of money in the bank for emergencies. You should have that backup one way or another. And medical insurance, I have PhilHealth that helps out. I've read different things. Maybe 40% of a hospital bill they'll pick up, but they no longer cover the more serious heart transplants, and I don't know the full list. I'll do a video on that someday. But they no longer, many years ago, it cost less, and it covered that as well. But they've upped the premium, still very reasonable, and they've cut out the I forget what they call it, the type of procedures, X-class procedures, something like that. And I guess one of the best examples of what can happen is what happened about 3 years ago, back in March 2020, when the world shut down, locked down, shut down travel. So you may be, I know many people who were married, had family and children here that they're back in the U.S. or back in the U.K. or Europe someplace, and they didn't see their family for about another 3 years. So they're supporting themselves wherever they're living, and plus a family here in the Philippines. Anyway, it's up to you to stay in control of your money. It's up to you to know how much money you have coming in, and keep in mind that can be interrupted at any point in time. Mine was for 6 months. I didn't get a pension check. Anyway, see you next time.